We're talking about things that have stayed the same, but of course things have also changed enormously, and you write that technology is the big change in politics. In what way?
Well, because it's speeded everything up. I mean, the new technology of communications is really mind-boggling. I write in the book about the 1969 election, Gorton versus Whitlam, and Gorton said something campaigning in Sydney that I wanted Whitlam to comment on, but he wouldn't do it unless he heard the exact words and knew the context. So I had to get an audio tape, hand it to a member of Whitlam's staff. He got on an aeroplane and flew it to Perth, where Whitlam was campaigning, and Whitlam listened and then gave me a comment. Well, I mean, now, of course, everything the Prime Minister said would be transmitted instantly. The most interesting stuff would be tweeted straight away. The rest of it would go out on ABC News 24 or Sky. And if I really needed to transmit an audio file, I'd do it by email. It's all instant, it's all real time. And as a result of that, I mean, journalists have got less time to think and make judgments and get advice. So I think it affects the quality of our work. But it also affects politicians. I mean, politicians now have less time to consider issues, they have little time to deliberate over decisions. They have to make instant judgments the same as journalists do. And the quality of their work has suffered as well. And I think one of the reasons we're getting some pretty lousy decisions is the extra pressure put on politicians by this media cycle, or media cyclone as some people call it. They have to react instantly, and the results, you know, inevitably a bit shabbier than they would be if there was time to think about them.
But is there anything that can be done about that? Because the technology's there. I mean, what do you do about it?
Well, there's not much you can do about it except be conscious of the problem, and I think sometimes you do have to take a deep breath. I mean, you do in journalism. I mean, sometimes, I mean, I only started tweeting about 6 months ago, and you see all this wonderful stuff on Twitter, but you've got to remember that you can't trust it. You've got to pull back and check it all out, and the politicians have to do the same. And I think Julia Gillard has now realised this. I mean, she announced recently that she wasn't going to be held to the news cycle. And I think by that she meant that she would stand back a bit and think a bit more than perhaps Kevin Rudd did. The Rudd government was a slave to the media cycle, into this whole speeded up instant politics. And if that's what Julia Gillard means, I think she's smart. I think she can afford just to slow it down a bit, step back and just take a longer view and more time to think about things.